I think this team has a lot of potential for success and disaster this season. They dethroned Red Bull to win their 9th Constructors' Championship ever in team history, but McLaren now find themselves in the crosshairs. It's one thing to be the hunter. It's another thing to be the hunted here. They're in uncharted territory as defending champions at this stage of the McLaren development. And Lando versus Oscar, I'm incredibly excited to see this start from zero with this potential championship level car, a car that can fight for wins on any given weekend. When you're starting from zero, we talked a lot about this last year. Lando had the edge early, carried that into the success late. Obviously, both these guys got their wins at some point last season, their first wins ever, but both of these guys won multiple races last year. I'm incredibly excited to see the battle between both of these drivers in the team, outside of the team. Maybe it affects the team negatively from top down. Uncharted territory. I'm excited. I think this team's going to start hot early. Don't get me wrong, but man, this is going to be an incredible 2025 season.
Well, I mean, I didn't realize you were going to be the number one McLaren hater. I didn't.
It's not hate. It's not hate. I got to contextualize it for the people.
I've got to buff back. Why do you think there's going to be a disaster for one of the cleanest teams that was last year?
I said could be disaster.
And why do you say that?
Because when you're starting from zero, at the end of the day, only one person could be a World Drivers' Champion. If both of these guys are close, fighting for a championship all season, think about it. One of these guys is going to make a call that goes against team orders. You went with team orders last year when, okay, we got Oscar his first win, right? We went with team orders to start getting Lando some points towards the end of the season when it was a bit out of reach for the drivers, right? The stakes are a little bit less. But when you're starting with a clean slate, both of these drivers, I would argue they're similar talent level. I think you could argue Lando's a bit faster over one pure lap, but Oscar, I love his racecraft. At times last year, I said that I think Oscar could very well be the number one driver within this team. Both of these guys, in my opinion, are pretty even. Overall, when the chips are down and you've got to make a decision for yourself, for your legacy, for what your goals are as a driver, how often, how improbable, how tiny of a chance is it that you're even ever in a position to be fighting for a championship at all? At the end of the day, it's your legacy or his. You're going to have to make a decision.
McLaren has already came out and pretty much said, look, it's clean slate. Whoever wants the driver's championship, it's theirs to take. There is no, I guess they're still going to call it papaya rules, but it's not really like, you know, look, I would say McLaren is more focused on getting a driver championship this year than a constructors championship. I don't know if that's a bold take. I don't know what kind of take that is, but that is what I think. I think they're more focused on one of their drivers winning a driver's championship. And I've already said this last year, but this could be one of the last couple of years when you have both Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri on the same team, which a lot of people would consider two number one drivers on the same team. Now, you could look at Charles and Lewis and you could say the same thing, but Lewis is at the tail end of his career. And he understands that Charles is that guy. These are both young guys. Obviously, Oscar's younger. But these are both young guys who are still a little unproven. And they're both, like you said, fighting for that win, fighting for that championship, fighting for legacy. Not a lot of two drivers on the grid can say the same thing that are on the same team. So there is a lot of situations that could pop up for McLaren where, you know, what decisions are going to be made, because if you're not focusing on one driver, or at least you're not saying you are, does that hold up to be true? Or is it still Lando's team? Or is it Oscar's team? I'm intrigued by that. I could understand that argument, but I don't necessarily agree with your point about them having the target on their back. And let me tell you why. I understand they're constructors, defending champions. Everyone's got their eye on Ferrari and what Ferrari's going to do. And I think that kind of creates a bit of a smoke screen for McLaren to kind of stay as the unproven team. Look, we still don't know if Lando's going to, you know, if he gets pole, we don't know if he's still going to have the lead after the first lap. That's still a problem, right? We don't know what kind of flexibility Oscar is going to be given. So there's a lot of questions surrounding this McLaren team. But like you said, a lot of excitement as well, a lot of intrigue to see what they're going to put on the grid. And while I wouldn't say that there's room for disaster necessarily, I would definitely say there's room for letdown. And that's there's like a high ceiling, but also a low floor when it comes to McLaren. And as a McLaren fan, it's a little scary